Today we welcome a Shreya, an entrepreneur and a data strategist and business analytics. A graduate student, Shreya is the founder of Novelhood, a platform serving over 5,000 users with translated digital content. His work, startup experience with advanced data analytics, and let's hear his story. Shreya, it's great to have you here. How do your upbringing in Delhi influence your professional journey?
Well, to start off, my family were immigrants from Bihar. So I was born and brought up in Delhi though. So I saw my father struggle a lot in his initial days, and later he started his own company. So he was his own CEO. And somewhere along the line, that influenced me a lot. Like I wanted to be someone people can rely on. I wanted to be someone who can lead, and that kind of shaped me in the early years of my career to be more focused on entrepreneurship rather than seeking a job, which was conventional in families that came or immigrated from a different state to Delhi.
All right, cool, man. So let's moving forward with your professional experience and work experience. Let's talk about a personal journey and education. Can you describe your childhood and high school experience in India?
So I was not the brightest student, I'll say that. My parents had to, you know, get on top of me to make me study. I was the kind of guy who just wanted to go out, play cricket, basketball, any kind of sport, just not stay in home and read books. And that kind of made me an average student, to be really honest. And all the pressure from my parents and the society kind of weighed down on me when I was in 12th. The board exams in India are like a national sport for people to like
Right.
talk and discuss about. And I had to, score well or people would make fun of me. And at that time, I did quite decent. That kind of shaped me into, reading books
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
learning stuff. That was like the initial phase of my studies in India.
If you don't mind, can you just like show us like what was your 10th and 12th result? What was the
So
scores?
in 10th, I had like 8.4 CGPA out of 10, and in 12th, I had 85%, which was not so great, but my focus was always on like entrepreneurship, so I really didn't really care about grades at that point.
All right. So, what was the experience about studying abroad after 12th? So, how do you prepare for that? Like, we want to give some kinds of exams like ACT, TOEFL, and like that thing.
So after 12th, if you want to go abroad, I'll say you have to give SAT. Every college requires an SAT exam. It has two sections, right? A math and an English section. If you are, if you know your math, you will get a good grade or a good score in math section. English is the one I felt I was not that confident in because all the comprehension passages and everything, they required a lot of analysis in there rather than like reading and answering questions based off what you read. So you had to be a critical thinker, and then you have to give an English language test. These days, they take Duolingo in some universities as an English proficiency, but I gave the TOEFL. So I'll say if you're going aiming for the US, TOEFL would be a much better choice. And apart from these exams, you need to have a great extracurricular activities like background or like certificates in sports. You were a student organization leader in your school. You
Yeah,
organized some health campaigns or social campaigns in your society or something like that. Those
yeah.
add up on your profile, and scores are are not the only thing that US universities look for. They want to look at how extraordinary you are, or how many you're not just studious, but you also have the drive to go out, lead people, whatever.
So, when you decided to study abroad, actually, what was the transformation? And like, instead of doing your bachelor's, at least bachelor's in the India, why do you decided for US or like that stuff?
For me, pursuing an undergrad in abroad was more of a practical choice. Like, uh, from what I had learned from my peers in India, it was more like you go into the college, you just read books, study, and then, like, give exams off of it. US, on the other hand, I'll say was more practical in that sense. Like everything, I did my undergrad in management, right? So I did everything which was like in a real class setting. The professors were like assigning you a team. He acted like a manager, and then each team had a team lead. You had to correspond with each other, make projects, and then at the end of the day, give presentation to board of directors, which is the professor and the other classmates, and then they had to ask questions. Like I know that happens in India as well, but this was more on a semester long scale, right? Like when you come to the class, you convene, you meet your student, you meet your classmates, and then you just make a team and just work with them for the rest of the semester. And that's how it is in a practical environment as well. Like for example, if you go to a corporate job, you will be working with a team all the time. No one who works alone. And the exams were there, but they were more focused on how much did you learn from the experience that you are using right now, rather than like what did you learn from the books. And I felt that was way more practical for me, and that also gave me the idea for novelhood. Like when I was an undergrad, um, I was reading through
Right,
books, and like all the entrepreneurship, all the people around me in business were like, kind of like doing businesses and stuff. So you get to know a lot of ideas, you talk about them, you make connections, and exchange of ideas help you have something in your own mind as well.
right. Cool. So, what were the key challenges and opportunities while pursuing your bachelor's degree in the US?
The key challenges I'll say was is like, when you studied your or like you grew up in India and then you had to change the countries, right? And being 18 in a different country without your parents, it's hard. You get a cultural shock. You don't really know the language as good as you were, like as good as you think you did. And then making friends is harder than you think. Like you cannot, like, being alone is very fatal, and talking to people who are like culturally different from you was way more harder than I thought. But for me at least, I got used to it pretty quick, like within the month. So plus also, I had like a few family and my brother with me here as well, so adapted faster. But I know a few people who came in alone and had a lot of hard time adjusting to the new
Right.
culture, making friends. So that's like the initial phase. If you overcome it, you will have a great time.
All right. And what drove your decisions to pursue a master in business analytics after your entrepreneurial experience?
So during my entrepreneurship, I had a lot of data, right? A lot of dashboards. I was watching Google Analytics. They gave you a dashboard and everything. And based off of that, I was making decisions. Some of the things I did not know what was going on. And that kind of like pivoted me into thinking like, if I have the data myself and if I make some, like, make quality decisions, I know what's going on behind the scenes. I can make
Right.
much more better decisions and targeted decisions towards my specific audience. And my father also owns a business, and like I was helping him with the business as well. And he's like a very traditional businessman. He does everything with a gut feeling, like, oh, this is going to work out. And me being more like modern, I'll say, I had to have like some sort of specific tools so that
Right.
I can make
Right.
effective decisions. And data analytics at that time was like on the boom as well. Like it was growing. So I decided to why not go for it, because you gather decisions, you make insights, and then you present it. So it also involves technical skills and business skills. I had the business skills. I'm just learning the technical skills right now.
All right. Cool. So, how do you integrate your academic learnings with your practical work in startups and marketing?
So for marketing, right, I'll say you look at all the data, like how many clicks did people do on your campaigns, and what demographic were the people clicking your ads from, and based on that you can make a insightful decision that okay, let's say people from Texas are not the ones who are clicking on my ads. Let's just remove
Right.
Texas as a whole, like save cost over there, and focus on, let's say, Washington DC, where people are actually watching my ads and clicking on my website. And if you go in depth, you can just like run a regression using R or any statistical tool to make much more informed decisions based off of that. Make graphs like what demographic has a lot of people clicking, you know, at a glance view of everything
Right.
that's going on with your campaigns.
Perfect. So, which skills from your academic background have had the greatest impact on your career?
I'll say, you know, the only skill I feel like from my own experience that worked for me was presentations, like talking to people. I was an introvert, right? I could not talk in front of more than two people. And during my undergrad and my master's there, like you have to present toward at the end of the like to people, and you had to overcome it. And for me, that was one of the greatest experience in my whole, academic session. Also, a few things around like my innovation class. They told me how innovation, they did not actually told me how you innovate, right? But how innovation works and why is it important for any kind of business, whether it be traditional or a tech business. Innovation helps keep anything alive. Like if that fire you had was extinguished, your business is stagnant. It will just like stay where it is or just go down. You need to
Right.
improvise every day to, grow. And I felt that was a great experience. From my master's, I'll say, uh, the technical knowledge for SQL and Python, these tools which you use for data manipulation and finding out what's where and how you can make decisions based off of that was a very great experience in my opinion.
All right. And when we talk about something like if you could leave a piece of advice to young students in India, those who are in 9 to 12th standard, like 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. Everybody has just one goals, do JEE, crack IIT, IIMs, and like that stuff, doing a NEET. So,
Mhm.
from your experience from studying abroad from after 12th for a bachelor's and master's, if you could leave a piece of advice for those young students and young professionals.
Uh, everyone has a different situation, right? Like what I faced in whatever I'm facing right now, what I faced like probably helped me where I am right now. But if I had to give an advice, if you have an idea that you feel like will be a great hit, I'm not saying just for don't focus on your studies, but also give time to that. You know, incorporate it somewhere. Like you had this great idea of an app, make it. Just open it up in the internet, it'll have people use it. And based on that response, you can figure out what you're going to do next, right? You don't limit yourself to just studying, finding a job, or like being an entrepreneur. Not everyone is fit to be a businessman or an entrepreneur. Not everyone is fit for a job. Some people have both the qualities. So figure out where you want to stand in the future, right? And focus on that. I'm not saying neglect your studies. Studies is important. I used to hate studies. Like I'm doing my like what third degree right now. So it is important. I won't say just
Right.
neglect everything and just do what you felt like. Only a few people, like people give example of Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates. These guys are like what 0.01% of the 100% of 100%. Like not everyone is going to be them. So I have to be practical. Don't be like if this worked out for someone, this will work out for me. And you're in 9th, 10th, and like, you're from grade 9 to 12th, right? You are at that age where even if you fail, you're still you still have a lot of time to get back and figure out everything on your own. Like I'll say
Right.
up until 27, 28, you still have a lot of time to fail and get back up. So don't focus on being behind, focus on what's coming up for you. Focus on the future.
Right. Right. And like those who students or like those who sees from India, like a fancy lifestyles in US, is it true or right? Is-
On average, no. If you are looking for, if you're looking at America thinking, oh, I'm going to live my life here, go, have every day is going to be a party, drive fancy cars and eat good food every day, that's not going to happen. The first thing that what I faced after landing here was disappointment. Like you have to cook, clean everything on your own. You don't even have your mom. You can't even like cry to anyone. Like you have to like do everything on your own. People like you watch YouTube, like people do show a great life, but the thing is that's like only the 5% of the life they're showing. 95% is just being waking up, making your bed, making breakfast, eating it, going to work, coming back, and it's on repeat. It's not
Right.
as good of a life you think you will have. I mean, either you are like super rich, then that's a different story. But for average people who are going to watch this video or are looking to study abroad, right? You have to be practical. You don't have like you look at your expenses. Living here is expensive. It's not cheap. Once you come here, like at first you will start converting dollars into rupees or whatever currency you're coming from, and then you'll feel like a bottle of milk is 3 times or 4 times more expensive than what I get in India. Should I just drink milk or not, or should I just like eliminate milk from my diet altogether? So that initial conversion, everything seeming expensive, you cutting on food, you cutting on your like health just so you can maintain your savings. So that's one of the biggest hurdle I'll say, and nobody actually shows you that struggle online. You only see the glorified life. You don't really see what's happening to them or anyone else around you.
Right. All right. So moving forward with your professional experience from being a founder to data-driven strategist, what's a market gap did you identify that lead to the creation of Novelhood?
Okay. This happened during COVID. Like COVID, this was 2019, everyone was sitting at home and you don't had anything to do, right? And at that time I was scrolling through Facebook and this short segment of an app came up on my feed of a novel, right? And I started reading it. It was amazing. I downloaded the app. The first 15 chapters were free, and then you had to pay for every single chapter. And I spent around $40 on that app, and that novel did not like finish. It updated every day with 2 chapters, and I was like, I'm not going to spend $40 plus like 120, $30 on a novel which I don't see an end of. And then I started researching on the internet, like, where is this coming from? What is the source? Is it copyrighted or not? And then I realized this was a Chinese novel and it was not copyrighted. Like, the author just put it on the internet, and these apps were like just using it to make money. And I'm like, I could do the same thing if I have the resources. Why not? So I started Google translating it and fixing the grammar wherever I could. It was still broken, but it was working. I started searching for Facebook groups that had these kind of people, like, say like-minded people in there. I started posting my stories. I made a Discord, and then that Discord gained around 10,000 people in the first month I started the server. And I realized later that, okay, this could be a business opportunity for me as well. So at first, I started up Discord server for premium membership, and then I made an app, grew to 5,000 users every day, concurrently reading something. And this was the peak. I had like a lot of people working for me at that time. Everyone was from either Philippines, Egypt, America, like a lot of people from working from. I could say it was a global business in that sense. And later, when I started for my masters, I closed down the business to focus on my masters, and it was a good ride. I learned a lot of things, how to lead
Yeah,
people, how to, how to look at the finances. Looking at finances, not everyone can do it. Like if the money's coming in, how do you put it somewhere, or operations
right.
and stuff like that. So that was a great experience in my sense.
All right. So, what were the crucial insights about your user engagement and retention you gained from launching your product?
Um, User engagement was basically like people watched or like read a few new novels and then they got bored of it and then they started, you know, finding different things. At first, I had only like 3 to 4 novels in there and not a lot of genres. So my churn rate was a lot higher than it was supposed to be. And to fix that, I was looking at the dashboard, right, that Google provides. And around 2 weeks in, people just started leaving the app. So I made the decision of, opening up a survey in my Discord server, like what kind of genres and what kind of novel do you want to read. And the ones with the most votes get added into the novel. So I started engaging the users as well. Like, you are a part of my business. Like, you get what you want, kind of thing. And that was a huge hit. People started using the app more and more, and they started. The average screen time on my app was 3 hours or 2 hours, but people were just like reading novels, every single one of them, the whole catalog. So that was that was, the gap was not me not being able to figure out what the people wanted, and the solution was just talking to the people all along. Don't make decisions that you feel is right. Make decisions that will work out for everyone.
Right,
And somewhere on the lines, then analytics, like, that Google dashboard made me figure
right,
out like why not just go for business analytics for my masters. So that also pivoted me towards this field as well.
right. So, how did you maintain and grow your user base to over 5,000 active users across 3 years?
I'll say it was mostly marketing and talking to people, right? My Discord server was the place everyone could hang out with. Like, I was like, being an owner, you don't really get to know who the owner of anything is. You just know the face of the app or Discord, and I was like engaged with people who were reading my novels. Like, I started opened the server and I'm like, yo, what's up, guys? It's me. And then everyone was like, yo, what's up? How are you? And we were talking normally, and people used to come up with their queries and grievances about the app, like, oh, there's this problem in the app. I cannot figure out how to, pay for the subscription and stuff like that. Me and my staff were like always talking with people, figuring out their problems and helping out
All
wherever
right,
we can. So I feel like us being a part of the community helped us grow more and retain more people. Like in 3 years, like for me, I started my app in the last, the third year itself. The first 2 years was just Discord server. The third year was the one where I made the app, and the 5,000 users within the year. I feel like for a business which is like kind of not known, it's like a niche category, like people did not know widely about it, was a huge achievement. Like, and everything was organic. It was all by
right.
word of mouth. I did not act like made campaigns. I just like posted my link, like, oh, we are here, just come. And that kind of worked out in my favor. People just started talking about us and we grew exponentially.
All right, cool. So, what motivated you to pursue entrepreneurship initially, and what continues to drive you still now?
Like I said, my father was the person who kind of motivated me to pursue entrepreneurship. Right now, the feeling of leading people, making decisions, talking to teammates, helping, figuring out what's wrong, what's working, that kind of thing motivates me now to still pursue entrepreneurship. Like you can always work for someone else, and I feel like that's a great experience right now. Like being with, like having seen a bit of the world more, I can definitely say that, working in a corporate culture will also help you figure out where you want to be in life. And personally, I never really worked in corporate, so I can't really say much about it. But the most motivating factor is making decisions that satisfy me and the people around you. Like you watch people have fun in what you created gives me the utter satisfaction. Like, yes, what I worked hard for is being shown, is being reciprocated by people. And that drives me more than anything else.
All right. How has your early exposure to marketing influenced your approach to business growth to customer understanding?
Uh, so I started off with this drop shipping website. Like that was my first ever venture which I started. And at that time, I used Facebook ads a lot, CPC, CPM. I did not know any of these terms, and I realized how effective marketing is. Like if you made a video that showcased someone's problem, and then at the end you just give them a solution, people will buy that. Somewhere or the other, people connect with the problem, and giving a solution is the best thing anyone can do. Like marketing, making people aware of yourself. It's marketing is not just about adding banners or showing ads on Facebook, Instagram. It's more about connecting with the people itself, right? Let's say someone's I had this drop shipping product where, like, a hairspray kind of thing that it looks your hair is more dense or something. And pattern baldness is something which happens to a lot of male demographic. So people want
Yeah.
their hair to look full. And at that time, I made a video about this. That here's this situation, here's this after you use it, and within the next 24 hours, I had like 500 orders for that product. So I realized like connecting a problem with
Bonding.
a solution creates a bond. Like, yeah, people will buy that thing, or people will come towards your product, whatever it is.
So, all right. So, how did you decide when to build, when to learn, and when to pause during your startup journey?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question again?
The question is like when to build, when to learn, and when to pause during your startup journey.
Okay, I'll go back to the novelhood example. When to build. When I faced a situation or a problem myself, like spending $40 was and more was not worth it for me for an online novel. And that's when I decided, let's build something of my own. And what was the second one? When to build,
When to learn.
when to learn. Learning is continuous throughout the journey. You learn everything wherever you go. Like it's dynamic. You think something and then something else happens and then you have to adapt to that thing. That's learning as well. So learning is throughout the whole journey. You are still, like, me and you talking is also a part of learning. That's you take a few points from what I'm saying. I take a few points from what the questions you're giving me. Like there might be something that I learned later on as well. And then when to pause. That's, I feel like, a gut feeling. Like when to pause. That you cannot like decide, oh, I'm gonna just pause it right now. I decided to do that novelhood thing for a year. It stretched out to 3 years. So the timing you'll know when to stop. You'll It's just like you just need to be aware of it. You can't really plan on when to stop or when to pause anything. It will happen naturally, and you'll have that gut feeling that okay, it's time to stop.
All right. So, why did you choose to specialize in business analytics after gaining startup experience and marketing it?
So, as I said, after working closely on marketing and growth of my startup, right, I realized that every major decision, whether it was tweaking a campaign or launching a new feature, like it all required a better understanding of the demographic and the ideas that I was going through. And data backed ideas or data backed decisions were are much more useful in a startup. Like you can figure out if this strategy is going to work or not. Like how do you say it? I used to like if I go through my gut feeling, I used to often hit a wall. Like I made a new feature, people did not use it, and I'm like, okay, that's a waste of resource and my time, and people are not using it. So figuring out where people are, what people want, and how that data is working, like how that data is transformed towards me, and how I see it. I've decided that pursuing business analytics right now would be one of the best decisions I can make.
All right. So, can you share specific examples where data analytics improve business outcomes for you?
Okay, so when I started using like Facebook ads and performances, our CPCs were high and the conversion rates were not as good as I wanted them to be. So by analyzing the click-through rates across, creative matching and with landing page landing page data in Google Analytics, I discovered like certain visuals and certain ad performed better in specific demographics, like around for children of teenagers around aged 15 to 18. They were like more inclined towards novelhood than people who were aged, let's say, 50 plus. So we reallocated the budget accordingly and cut our CPC and saved our money in the allocation process. Gained more users while doing so.
Right. And how has your approach shifted from execution focus to data-driven decision making?
Uh, it hasn't really shifted much. I'll say you know, executive decisions, we still have to make them. Right now, I'm working with Abhinav. We start co-founded Rolync, right? It's one of another. It's a B2B AI full stack recruitment talent firm, and you still have to make executive decisions. You can't really just shift your focus. If you're a co-founder or a founder of any startup, you need to make decisions that need to stick. So what business analytics does is it helps you make educated executive decisions backed up by data. Like if you have the data, like let's say people are not engaging like around my churn rate has been like 60% because people are not engaging with the content that I have. I can see what kind of content they want, what kind of content they do not want, and then make executive decision that okay, let's cut down the content which is being getting around 20% views rather than the content which is getting 60% views, and focus more on that content, expand it, something like that. So it goes parallelly. I feel like you do not like actually shift your focus from one to other.
All right. And what are common uh, pitfalls founder face when they overlook analytics early on?
Well, there's also I'll say because they're too close to the product, right? Like founders, they're like, this is my product. I feel this will work in any situation. And like as founders, people assume that okay, people are going to use this because I use it, and that's often what makes or breaks kind of things. So like I know that this product is amazing, but how do the people around you perceive it? So you have to do A/B testing, like back your assumption by data, make hypothesis like this will this work or not. And oftentimes most founders they overlook this thing, but and without asking the questions like, oh, do you want this thing, and how would you prefer this, they just like push forward with the idea, and oftentimes it fails. So you know measuring what people want first and then making the decision on where to mold your product is much, I feel like, more efficient in that sense.
Right. And what framework do you recommend for integrating data insights into business strategy?
Mm, I'll say if you're not that technical, right? Uh, Look at the dashboard. Like make a dashboard based on whatever data you have. A dashboard contains a lot of graphs and visuals, and, like everyone can figure out or analyze a visual, right? Like if I presented you a graph, at a glance you can also see that this kind of thing performs well, this kind of thing does not perform well. So integrating a graph and like looking at things at a glance will help you a lot to make simple and complex decisions based on what you see. If you are more into the technical side, you can figure out, okay, so like you do run a regression, then you work out with the coefficients of whatever the results were. So I mean, I don't want to get too technical in here. Like I'm not that well versed in the technicality as well as I'm still learning. But on the surface level, dashboards or visuals will help you a lot. Like those data backed graphs will help you a lot in making any kind of decisions for your business.
All right, cool. So tell us about your new startup called Rolync. What is it and what problem are you solving?
So we started Rolync as an informational platform where students can figure out if they're ready for a particular job yet or not. And then we realized that the main decision makers in hiring for any kind of role are the companies. They are like they are the one decision making decisions on who to hire and who to not. So we pivoted from an information platform to a B2B AI recruitment firm. What we do is we have an AI powered assessment that searches the web for your preferences. Let's say you want to be a data analyst in finance in a healthcare industry. So based on your preferences, we'll scrape out what's going on in the current industry, ask you questions. Think of it as an interview, and we assess you based on that, and then you're ready to apply for a job. And we are still in the phase of talking to companies right now to integrate this in their system. So hopefully this works. And our aim with Rolink is to cut down applications. Only the qualified candidates are the ones who apply for a job. Like you go to LinkedIn and you find a job, there's like within the hour, it's more than 1,000 people who have applied for a particular job. And out of that 1,000, how many are qualified, how many are not qualified? Uh, you don't know. And recruiters also have to look for a needle in a haystack. It's a situation for the recruiters as the candidates. They're in the inside. They're in anticipation of what's going to happen next. Will I get an interview call or not? So we try to make chances better for you, like for both the sides, like for the candidates and the company. And that's our aim right now.
All right. And what are your professional goals moving forward? Building new ventures, leading data strategies, or joining a growth stage company?
My future goals, like right now, I'm working with Rolling, uh, but I still have a few ideas that I want to implement, and I feel like I want to create a few more companies before I decide where I want to be in. Like, do I want to be a venture? Do I want to be running my own companies, or do I just want to, have them keep running and then figure out if I want to be an investor or not? So that's still in the work in progress part, but you'll hear from me with a few more ventures in the near future, like within 2 or 3 years.
Right. Mm. And how has your pursuing both MBA and MS in business analytics influenced your long-term career outlook?
So an MBA, I'll say, is much more towards how well are you as a person, like more on the personality side. Like you talk to people, you give presentations, you make reports, in that sense. MS in this sense, where what I'm studying right now, MS is more technical. Like business analytics is more like how do you use a particular tool, do you know statistics, and how do you do convert this raw data, like bunch of numbers, into something that's going to be meaningful to you, and then that organize data into something which is going to be meaningful for the stakeholders who don't know anything about data. So these two, I think, are different things. One teaches you how to uh, talk, how to present yourself. Other one teaches you how to be more technical. Incorporating both of these will help you become a great leader, a person who how to talks and knows what's going on behind the scenes as well. So you can easily relay what's going on. Also, MBA, I did my MBA in finance, so I kind of like have that financial capable of like what's how do I look at the balance sheet? Is this matching or not? And
Right.
something like that.
All right. So, what advice do you have for early career professionals deciding between launching a startup or gaining more experience?
Okay, if you're still studying, let's say if you're still in college, right? Launch your product while still in college. If your project does well, if your product does well, and you know that this has potential, I'll say pause your studies, focus on that product or your or the venture. If that goes up, that's really great. If it does not, or like if in the testing phase it does not do well, you still have time. Focus on your studies first. Then, like at least you will have something to lean back on if you fail later in the future. Don't really like that. Like I said, with Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, these are like 0.01% of the population. Not everything works out like them. Not everyone is that. So having an education will help you out in the future. Like if nothing works, at least you have that degree to lean back on. You can go to work, you can find work, get yourself stable, and then find something else you want to do. So don't really neglect your studies and don't really, wash down the fire you have. Make it have a balance and figure out what works and what not.
All right. Shreya, thank you for sharing your valuable insights. Your journey demonstrates the power of combining entrepreneurship with the data-driven strategies to our audience. Thank you for listening, guys. Stay focused, keep growing, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.